Rupert's an amazing man, basically. I don't think there's many people in the world who are up to Rupert's mark. To have created what he's done, this amazing global media empire from one newspaper in Adelaide, and to keep it at the top and to reinvent it when the industry changes so rapidly and other media companies are falling by the wayside and on the verge of disappearing. Rupert is unbelievable, and so I think it's hard to find anyone who can step into those sorts of shoes, really.
Well, let's look at the options. Until fairly recently, James Murdoch was considered to be the heir apparent, but of course his copybook was spectacularly blotted by the hacking scandal, wasn't it?
That's right. James's problem was that he didn't, or claimed that he didn't know it was going on at the paper. For about 5 years, the management of the News of the World, the management of News International in the UK, which included James Murdoch, maintained that it was one rogue reporter who'd been hacking. It turns out it was probably tens anyway, maybe 20, and that there were thousands of victims. So James was involved in this cover-up. When he was questioned about it in Parliament, he said, look, I knew nothing, I didn't see the documents, no one showed them to me. And gradually that defence became, well, yeah, actually I did have a few meetings and yeah, I did see some of the documents but I didn't read them, and then yeah, I did read some of them but I didn't read all the way down. So basically his problem was that he looked either a fool or a liar, and you can't really run an $80 billion media empire if you're a fool or a liar. At least it's not good, and the American executives, I think, would and the board would not find that very palatable at the moment.
And how's Lachlan Murdoch placed? Because there is speculation that given Kim Williams' departure from News Limited here in Australia, he could be appointed to run the Australian operation sometime fairly soon.
Rupert wants him to do that. He's Rupert's favourite son, and he was the first chosen one before he walked out in 2005 when he had big rows with the American executives. Rupert would love him to come back. I think Lachlan likes a quieter life. He likes living in Australia. His wife likes living in Australia. He doesn't want to live in America, for example. But look, I think it's possible he could run the newspapers, and he could probably run them from Australia. I don't think there's any possibility that he's going to run what is now by far the largest part of the group, which is the cable TV networks in the United States and the TV networks there and the movie studios and Sky B in Britain. I don't think he's a chance for that. He wouldn't do it, and basically the executives wouldn't accept him anyway.
Because all this could be rather academic, Paul, because you point out in your book that Rupert half-jokingly keeps talking about living to 100 being carried out in a box. Do you see where that ends for Rupert?
Look, Rupert's always said this, basically. And you know, the interesting thing is that people have been speculating about the succession, who's going to take over from Rupert, since about 1980, or possibly before that. And everyone says, look, he's 50 or he's 65 or, you know, he's surely got to go soon. But he's still there. And at the age of 82, he's clearly intent on staying there for a lot longer. His mother lived to 103. She was perfectly compos mentis towards the end. I think Rupert has designs on getting to 100 himself.
Yes, I'm sure that's in his master plan. Mortality might intrude at some stage, though. And you also write about Rupert Murdoch getting something of a new lease of life ever since he separated from his wife, Wendy Dang.
Well, I don't think it's just the separation that's given him a new lease of life. I think the challenge of the hacking scandal has energised him. And I think, you know, Rupert is at his best when he's backed into a corner and when he's dealing with enemies. He's had a lot of enemies in the last couple of years, and I think he has enjoyed enormously fighting them off. And since the depth of the crisis, the value of News Limited, now they split the company, News Corp, now they split the company, has gone to something like 80 billion from 40 billion. So his wealth has doubled. So in that respect, you know, there may be family problems, there may be succession problems, but the empire is doing very nicely, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Rupert keeps on keeping on.